Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you may be listening or watching this video in the future. So this recording is to demonstrate a site-to-site VPN connection between multi-cloud providers. So this specific one is for AWS and Azure virtual private cloud in AWS and virtual network in Azure. So there are several use cases for hybrid or multi-cloud uh, environment for and by different enterprises. And this is the reason why I thought it will make sense to demonstrate for whoever may be interested, or maybe you might have been struggling to decide whether you can have a multi-cloud, and if so, how do you go about it? There are several ways to go about it. This is one of the ways to have a site-to-site VPN between the two environments. And as a result of what we're doing, just to demonstrate and to demonstrate that it works, we will be using some web access in the two environment or in one of the two environments, and we'll be trying to ping just to establish a ping connectivity between them as well. So, but what will make this different is that we will be using private IPs between the two environments to establish connectivity. So, without taking much time, I will get on to doing the demonstration. And one of the things that we'll be doing is some of this information I've highlighted here. So we will be creating VPCs on the AWS side and VNet on the Azure side. And we will be creating several other resources, including Internet Gateway, Subnet, Route, Customer Gateway, and the likes. We will be creating similar setup in Azure, virtual network, subnet, creation of virtual private gateway, and and the local network gateway on the other on Azure side as well. So to be able to test, after which we will establish the connectivity between the two environments. So which may take few minutes or so. So while the virtual private gateway is going on, or the site to site, I will be creating other resources which I've not created right now. For example, the instances I will be using on both sides to carry out the test. So I'll be creating a Linux OS and a Windows OS on the AWS side, similar to what I'll be doing on the Azure side as well. So that we can test if actually there is cross connectivity between the two environments. So let's go on by creating a virtual private cloud and a VNet on both sides. I may be following this IP addressing scheme, maybe I will not, but I will try to stick to this IP addressing scheme just to kind of make it easy for everyone. All right, let's get going. So we do that. So we're starting with the Azure side. That's why with AWS side. So as you can see, there is already one there, but I will be creating another one. So shall I call it? I think we should just call it 2 just to avoid any form of complexity. So when I say complexity, I mean so that there is really no overlapping, which it won't be, but just to really kind of avoid any naming convention. So we're calling this one 2. Then I'll be creating a subnet just to reflect that. There is already one there maybe, but I will be creating our one. So I'm creating for this one we just created now. I called it 2, if you remember. So I'm calling this AWS Azure VPC. Sorry, let me just call it subnet 2. Then let me use this availability zone here. So let me call this CIDR as well. So CIDR/24. What else? I think we are done here for now. The other thing I will be doing is I will be creating a root table, just one. So let's just name it 2 to make it consistent. Then I will be creating an internet gateway. So just to, then what else will I need to do now? So I need to attach it to the VPC here. What else do I need to do? I need to, like I said here, I need to create, edit the route of what I've just created and associate as necessary. So I'll need to, let's create the route first. So this is what allows you to get access to the internet. Internet IGW2. Then I will be associating the subnet that we've just created. If you see subnet 2. But there is one thing I need to do here, but I can't do it right away because it requires some information to be created. So I need to create a root propagation, but I need some information before that can happen. So we will be coming back to this one, which is why I have put like second, because I need that information to be done on the Azure side first before I can come to AWS to finalize. So what else is that? So let's go to Azure. So then we'll come back. So we go to Azure, we'll create similar stuff, virtual network, which is what is called virtual private cloud on the AWS side. So sometimes I may need to pause the recording so that while some creation are going on, so that I wouldn't have to, the recording would not be too long or too much. So I'll call this Azure AWS VNet. Let's just add 2 to it. So let's stay here in this region. So let's create some IP addresses. I'll stick to these. Shall I stick to this IP address? Maybe I should make it 1. Then create a subnet. So let's just call it 2. So let's call this .1.0.0/24 and add. Once that is done, most of the other settings are not required for this demonstration, but for other things in the future you may need it, but not for the site-to-site we are trying to create. So I've created in one breath the VNet and the subnet together. So the other thing I need to do now is to create a virtual private gateway. Okay, so that is so the virtual network is finished. So let me open another tab. And create, because some of this information I'll need it for the AWS side. So let me, where is it? It's there. So I'll create a yeah, I think there is a typo here. So it should be virtual network gateway. Virtual network gateway, not virtual. So it should be virtual network gateway, VNG, not VPN. So I will create this. The reason being that there will be some information that I will need on the AWS side, and I need to have done it on this side. So I'll move let me just make sure they are all in the same region to avoid any form of issue. This subnet range is created by default for the virtual network gateway, so I didn't have to do that. So it's created by default within the virtual network. So I'll be providing I'll call this 2 just to make sure there are no hiccups. So 2, I'll call it PIP, public IP address, even though we're still, so this will take time to be created, but we'll go ahead. So this is passed, right? The validation is passed. So this is now time to create. So you can see it's submitting the deployment, and deployment is now in progress. So this really takes a few moments. So while this is ongoing, there are a few things we can be doing. So one thing we can be doing on the AWS side, let's see, we can create the Ec2 instances that we will need for the test. So if you see, here is where we are jumping to right now to create the Ec2 instances. We are creating 2, and we'll be doing the same thing on the Azure side as well. So let's start with the AWS side. So like I said to you, I will be creating a one Linux, one Windows. So I'm just going by the default setting. I'll be using the VPC I created. My subnet is the only subnet here. So I'll be providing a public IP. Then I want to be able to carry out some tests. So I just want to So I'll tell you the test I'll be doing. So I just want to install some web server on the Linux instance, and I'll be configuring it, then I'll be starting the service so that we can actually use it to test that from Azure. I will be able to gain access, as you can see, so that from Azure or from either side, but now it's going to be from Azure. I'll be able to use a web server in AWS, and from AWS I'll be able to carry out some pings to Azure. So that's the way I want to do it. So we'll do accessing a web server from Azure, then carrying out a ping from AWS to Azure, just to kind of split the responsibility there. So I'm not changing anything about the storage. I'll be adding a tag just to give me some, what I just call it, AWS Linux, and I'm going to put it. Let's leave it this way. I think it's fine. So what I want to do here is okay, so I need to just create it. So I just call it security group. So I'll need to include some services and ports so that I can actually use it for both of them at the same time. You may not have to do this, but I'm just kind of using one stone to kill two birds at the same time. So I want to be able to ping, that's what I said. I want to be able to access a web server, potentially, maybe not, I may be able to access a secure web server as well. And the other thing is that I want to be able to RDP for my Windows server. What else do I need? I think for this demonstration, I think we are good to go without this last one. I think that should be sufficient. So we're able to ping, we have SSH, we have RDP there, we have this. I think that should be sufficient for what we need to do for this demonstration. And what I need to do now is I've already got some key pair created for other things, so I can use it. Yeah, so I can go ahead and use it. Hopefully I can find it. Yeah, but I can go ahead. That's one thing. That's one finished, one instance finished. So I need to go back and create another instance. This time it's through the Windows. So I'm creating a Windows instance now. So I'm using the default, the free tier as well. So just to be efficient with what I'm doing and not have to spend a lot of money if and where I don't have to. So name AWS Windows, right? So let's just do that. So let's use what we've created before, our security group here. So this is launched. Let's use this and we're good to go. So now we can go back to Azure. As you can see, this is now it's still in progress, so we're still waiting. So let's go back here and create virtual machines. Let's create virtual machines. Okay. So if and where I need to pause, I will do, but for the moment we are fine. So like I said, so we are creating two virtual machines on this side as well. So this is just ongoing while we are waiting for the virtual network gateway to be fully deployed so that we can make use of the IP address. This IP address is what I really need to be able to use on the AWS side. But once it's ready, I will get the IP address, then I will continue to deploy the other resource on AWS side. So what shall I call this? Call it Azure VM Linux. So I'll create a Linux first, then I'll use this VM type here, but here I'll be using password to log in. You can use password. You can use SSH public key as well. So that's this one. I'll be leaving the default disk. So let me reduce it to standard. Network, so I want to make sure it's VNet 2. Right. So I think everything looks okay. Then I don't really need to do any management, so I will just go ahead and create that. So we'll see the validation succeed right now. Then I can go ahead to create the windows. So that's it. Do not worry about the notification here saying the SSH is exposed to the internet. Well, we need it to be exposed to the internet in this case. In some other cases, maybe not, but in this case, we do. So this is ongoing. All right. So I'm going back while we wait for this one to complete. Let's go and create for the windows. This is very quick, it's already finished, but we didn't have time to wait for it. So let's call it Azure, what did I name that? VM Windows. I hope it will go through. It did. Maybe not. It did. Okay. So let me use the same region as the other one. So where is it? So let's go back. So we're using West Europe. So let's use Windows. So let's stick to the standard size and type that we have here. Let's use Azure user as a login. Alright, so we have the RDP here. I will be limiting the disk type as well, just for the US. Then my network, I need to make sure I select network 2. network 2. Why is this? Okay, maybe I need to create my public IP by myself. Normally it should, I can see it here, so I want you to assign it. Did now. All right, so I don't want, okay, let me turn off this diagnostic for Windows because it kind of makes it, sorry, the diagnostics. Let me leave this on. Where is this? So let me leave this on. And I'll just go ahead and create. So hopefully this is it's not done yet. Let me check it. If I can find the IP address, which I don't think I will, but let's see if I'll be lucky. What's happening? They want to take me. You can see it's still in progress, so I don't think the public IP address is ready. It's not. Okay, so I need to wait for this to happen. So while this is going on, so let me plug it here. So while this is going on, let's see. So what I want to do now is I want to create. So this is virtual network gateway. So this has finished a while ago. So I want to create what we call the network security group. So network security group. So I'll be creating this and I'll be associating it to the virtual machines. Maybe I could have they've got one already, but I want to see if I could overwrite it with this new one so that I can have all the similar to all the information I have on the security groups here. If you remember, we had a security group here. So let me open on the top so that you see it. So I'll call it, our resource group. Then let's just call it so I want to do similar thing and have for a web port, RDP port, SSH port, and the secure HTTP port. So let me leave these. Create. Alright. This should excuse me. This shouldn't take a long time. It should be done pretty quickly. So let me have a look on my virtual network gateway. It's still in progress, as you can see. Still in progress. So I'll wait for it. But while I'm waiting, I'll keep creating the network as is. Keep. So I'm just gonna try and plug this back in. I'll put it among the other ones. So this is done. So let's try and create what all the services we want. So so there are two services that we need for. So we need so this is not common to both, but it's needed by the Linux instance one. So port 100. So let's say priority 110. Okay, so let's say port. So let's just go in that order. 3389 for 3389. So this is for the RDP for the Windows. So let's go again. I could do this in PowerShell, but I'm doing it through the GUI. So this is, we've done 22, we've done 3389. So let's do 0 for ping. We can select this as well if you want. So let's do port 80. 80. Then now the last one that I believe we need is, let's do port 443. Yeah, we may not need it, but let's just put it there just in case we do. 443, that's for the secure HTTP. So now what I will do is to assign this to associate it to the VNet I'm interested in. So I'm interested in this VNet, and I'm interested in this sub2, the one we've just created. It will not be associated to this, but it will be associated to this. So if it does, all my virtual instance should be, it's not. So let's try again, maybe because it was still in progress. Let's try again. If it's still not going, what I'll need to do is I may have to do it manually on the individual instance in that environment. So hopefully it goes through now. It still fails. Okay, so it's not the end of the world. So let's go ahead to the individual. This is deployed. When I say this, I'm talking about this is still in progress. Or the Windows server, the Windows VM we created is ready. So I just want us to create the firewall or the network security group, as it's called here. So I want two main things. So I want to be able to ping it. That's one important thing for me. To be able to ping it, that's one. And the other thing is to be able to access the port 80 if I need to. So 320. So I need to change the priority. I'll leave that. Then I'll go to. I just want to quickly speed things up a bit. So I'll go to. So we have RDP, then we have ping, then we have port 80. They're all happening concurrently. So let's go back here. So let's do the SSH once it comes up. So all we're doing is just to make sure we are waiting for this to be fully deployed. As you can see, it's not fully deployed because I don't have my public IP address here. Even if I refresh, it's still not here, so I need it to be here. And the reason why it's not there is because this is still, the deployment is still in progress for the virtual network. As you can see, the virtual network gateway. So it's from the virtual network gateway that I'll get my public IP address, which I'm still waiting. Let me refresh again. You can see it's still not ready. So let's go ahead and create a network security group for the VM Linux instance in our VNet here. So I already have port 22 open, so I need to create port 80. So I'm just going straight to the point now. Port 80. Priority 320. I want port 0. Port 0. Port 0. So those are the three main ports that I need. Port 22, port 80, and port 0. So I could have done port 443, but we may not actually be needing it for this particular deployment, the particular lab we're having right now. So let's go to AWS now. While this is ready, I can assure you that. So let's create, as part of, I'll bring up my slide again. So as part of the connectivity that we're trying to establish, that's what we are waiting for. So for that, we need to create a customer gateway for in AWS, but for Azure. Then we need to create a virtual private gateway in AWS for the AWS side. So we need the customer side, then we need the virtual private gateway concentrator in AWS side. So those are the things we need to create now. So we'll go ahead and create. Those are the things we are creating on the Azure side, one of it, the prerequisite before we can actually continue, but it's yet to be ready. So so let's go here. So now what we do is that let's just call it AWS. So we call it Azure Customer Gateway. Let's just put 2 there, just to make sure we are not making any mistake. So, but we need this address here. This address is for the public IP address on the Azure side. That's why we're waiting. We need it. As you can see here, specify the internet routable IP address for your gateway's external interface. The address must be static. So we need the external interface. So which is, in our case, which is the public routable address of Azure to establish the site-to-site. So I think it should almost be ready now. It's still not, but it says it's ready now. Okay, so we should have this fairly, maybe it should probably be ready now. Let's see. All right, so now it's ready. So I think we're good to go. Okay, so we've created this. So I need this name because that's the same name I will be using for the virtual private gateway that I need to create. Which this virtual private gateway is what I need to attach to the VPC. So there are 2 VPCs here, but I need to attach it to VPC 2. So it's attaching. Now that this is done, I need to go back to my route. If you remember, in my route here, route 2, we did not create a route propagation because at that time we had not created gateway, virtual private gateway, which is what we just created like literally a few seconds ago. So I just need to make sure it can propagate. Now, once that is done, what you begin to see now that it's attached. But the last thing we need to do on this side is to actually create the site-to-site connection. So, shall we call it AWS Azure Site-to-Site? Shall we call it just number 2, just to make sure we are not making any contradiction. So I've already created the customer gateway, which we created about 2 minutes ago as well. So if you look at the address, you'll see it's just what we collected from here like 2 minutes ago. That's what we have here because we had to wait for it to be able to create the customer gateway, which is the remote end of the connection. So we make sure this is static so that we can, because what we try to establish is, if I go back to my slide, so what we want to establish is we want to be able to have a ping and a web access between the two cloud environments. So what that means is that they will behave as if they are like on one side. So the private IP addresses can actually interact and communicate. That's what we're trying to do. And in order to do that, I need to, as my static IP prefix on the AWS side, I need to include that of my Azure side. So my Azure side, hopefully I followed this IP address scheme, so it should be this, just to make sure I did. So as you can see is 10.1.0.4 here, so that means it should be 10.1.0.0/16. So I think that should help us to establish the private IP address connectivity between the two environments. So I'm just using, for a lab purpose, I'm just using this. You would not do this. You would not do this for production environment or for live environment. This is because I'm just demonstrating. You will need to look for something really complicated, something very complicated to do rather than what I've just done. But for the purpose of this lab, I can use this, and that's what I'm doing. But do not take or learn from me what I've done, right? Okay, so what we are waiting for now is for there to be connectivity between these two. You can see that it's down, and this is even still pending. Can you see it's still pending? It's going to take a few minutes. So let's go back to Azure side. So what we will be doing on the Azure side is to create what we call the local gateway. So the local gateway is what actually provides the information of the AWS side for us. So I'm just opening a new tab. You can open a new tab, or you can do it any other way. So it's not there, so I can call network. It's not coming up. No. So I create a local network gateway. So what shall we call it? Shall call it Azure AWS local network gateway. Let's just call it. Shall we call it 2 as well? Okay, let's call it 2. I don't think I've created any before, but just to make sure. So here I will need the IP address of AWS. So, and I will be taking this IP address here. So because that's the virtual private address of AWS, and the private IP address range is, if everything is correct, it should be this, right? So that's 16. If you remember, if we went back to if you went back here, you see if I followed all the things I wanted to do, this is what we should have, and that's what I'm hoping we have. I'm just hoping. So our resource group is this, and our location is that. So what this means is that this should be, let me see what is happening here. So this should have attached by now, but it doesn't matter. It's still pending. Okay, so my local network gateway is ready. Now I need to look for so as you can see, the address you have for my local network gateway is the address of the AWS the tunnel for the virtual private network address that's provided. So that's what I have here. So what I need to do now is to connect it with my virtual network gateway, the virtual network gateway here. So let's open it. So we establish some form of connection. This is available because it's fully deployed now. However, we're waiting for the connectivity between these two, between the AWS and Azure. And the second leg is what I'm doing, the other side of the connectivity. So once I'm done, the next thing we should be expecting is this to be up. So a Azure AWS connection, site to site. Let's call it site to site, right? Should I say site to site 2 as well? And we are using a site to site. Then we are using the local network gateway that I've recently created, which is this. Then I created the pre-share key that I told you not to use. I think that's what I did, I think. So let me go back and just make sure. So the same information, I can get it from the download here, but I need to get, because I'm not using specific virtual appliance, I'm just using generic one provided by AWS. So you can see, receive the key, and you can see my address as well, the virtual private gateway address that I use. So which is, I'm fine. So this is fine. These are all okay. I just wanted to make sure before I click on OK. So what this means, hopefully, is once this is fully created, it will come up here and it will be going back and forth to establish connectivity with the AWS side. So this is here. I think it should go through a series of status changes, unknown, maybe known or something, then connected and something along the line. And this will come up as well and say it's up. So what I need to do while I'm waiting, this will be like this for a bit, and let's go up and down. I will not be waiting for anything to happen. I'll just be doing other things. So some of the other things I want to do right now is to launch all those to access all those virtual machines that we created both in AWS and in Azure. So shall we go to AWS first? So for AWS, let's go to Linux, the Linux environment. So let me do. I'll just pause for a second. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Just pause for a second. I'll access all the resources, all the virtual instances, the VM and the instances on the AWS side. So I'll access 4 of them, put them on the screen, then I'll come back. Is that okay? See you in a second. Yeah, here we are right now. So we have both connection up and running. We have the site-to-site here up and running. And if you remember, this tunnel is also up and running. Both of them were down before. And the only one we created on this side is up and running. If you remember, it says unknown before, but now it's connected. So that means there is some form of connectivity between the two cloud environment right now. So what we need to do is just to verify and check that that is actually the case. So I've already launched all these, I've already logged into them, all these resources. So I'll be bringing them to your screen now so that you can see them. I've got the Azure side as well. This is the windows for the Azure side. Also, I will be bringing to your window the Linux for AWS side. So is the Linux for Azure side. Right. So you have all of this right now. So as you can see, Ec2 Amazon, which is AWS side. So this is Azure user, so which is Azure side. So what we need to do now is to actually test what we said we have done. So first of all, I think most importantly, let's do the cross verification. I'll be putting something else on your screen so that it makes it easy for us all. No, not this. So I've already copied all the relevant IP addresses here. So these two are the Azure Linux and Windows. These are the AWS Linux and Windows. So just in case we need to ping something, we just do it from here. So what I'll be doing is I will be pinging the Linux in AWS from Azure. Then we will be accessing the web server from both Linux. We can actually do it either way. So let's do it. I want to make sure my demonstration, everything falls within 1 hour. I know it's been longer than 1 hour, but in terms of my recording, so I want to see if it can fall within 1 hour. So let's ping the AWS, the Azure side. So I want to ping it from the public right now. You can see it's going. but I want to also ping it from the private IP on its private interface. You can see it's going as well. Also, I want to access from AWS, from Azure. I want to access if you remember, we created the web server on AWS. So our Azure, I'll access it as well. So I can ping as well. So if I ping, it ping works, right? So if I access the web server, HTTP, you see it goes through, but I want to actually access it from the private IP as well. Private IP, exactly the same thing. So what I need to do is that let's do it from Windows so that you can have a GUI experience, right? So let's do that. So obviously there is a default security enabled here, but let's see what happens. You can see I have the access to my web page, default web page. I'm on Windows right now. This is the Windows, and I'm accessing the web server that we created here. So I've done it on the Linux environment, and I'm doing it on the Windows environment. So I'm doing like from both of these environments is from Azure to AWS, right? So, and I can do the same thing here as well anyway. Obviously, they are both in the same subnet and the same environment. It really doesn't count that much. If you understand what I mean, it really doesn't count, but just to try, see, it takes us there. What else do we need to test? I actually think we've tested what we set out to achieve. So we've been able to test that connectivity exists between Azure and AWS over the site-to-site connection that we created for both of them. So just that you remember, these are the site-to-site connectivity that we created for both environments, and it is up and it is running on the other side as well. So I want to bring it up. Which one is it? No, not this one actually. Yeah, it's this one. So it's connected. It's connected, and we've actually demonstrated and tested everything as well. So as you can see, I can access it. And we can ping as well on both sides. So we can ping. So if I brought back my window here, so we can ping both sides as well. So thank you very much for watching this video. What I will really appreciate that you do now is to really support this channel by subscribing, by sharing with friends, by commenting in the description, and we'll provide more information in the form of reply to your comment, or actually probably carry out other videos to really answer your question or any question you might have. So that is what we are here to do, and so that we can really kind of support and provide you some experiences and share our knowledge with you as well. So thanks so much for your time, and we hope this has really kind of been helpful. Like I said, earlier, please do subscribe to this channel and really kind of support what we are trying to do, and hopefully you find it interesting and you'll be able to find more other compelling reasons to come and see what we have on our channels for other use cases or other questions you might have in the future. So sometimes we think about what we need to share with you. Sometimes it's whatever you ask us to do that we will do, if it's something we can do. So we will do our best to share our experiences with you, and hopefully continue to share the link and continue to ask your friends and family to access some of these instructional messages and videos that we have put out there. Thank you so much for your time. All right then. Cheers. Bye.